Welcome to the Life of KG, your ultimate destination for all things motivation and business insights. Join me, Katie Godfrey, serial entrepreneur and the brains behind the KG brand. Along the way, we'll welcome inspiring guests and share invaluable business tips to fuel your growth journey. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. With that said, let's dive into the world of success together. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. Today on the show, I have Adele, and I wanted to bring her on because she's helped me personally with so many things, from anxiety, fear of losing business. She's helped my little girl with trauma. She's done a lot, and she's also spoke at my events as well before. So I wanted to get her on so I can connect her with all of you guys and for her to share some real powerful tips when it comes to anxiety and also being addicted to work like I am and other things. So I really hope this podcast episode helps you personally and you can take away lots from it. So without further ado, here she is. You guys know that I have been working with Sky Premium products for over a year now. I absolutely adore everything they do. If you need some type of supplement, then I'm pretty sure they will have it on their website. Now, my go-to is the collagen and the hair tablets. I can't live without them. The collagen is a liquid form and it is really affordable, and the tablets are super affordable and is making my hair grow because I'm so sick of this bob. I'm also selling them in my salon and they fly off the shelves. So go and check out the show notes and you can see a discount code there if you want to give them a go. If you want to sell them in your business, then drop me a message and I can give you an email for you to go and contact them so you get wholesale prices. My clients are loving it and coming back time and time again, regardless if they've got a treatment booked in or not. So we all know we love them retail sales. So go and check them out. Hi Adele, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, and I know my listeners are going to absolutely love this one. So, give us an intro. Tell us about you and what you do, first of all.
Oh, goodness. So, always a really interesting question, as my journey has spanned for 3 decades, really. So the title that I now have for myself is I'm a Neurosomatic Educator and Facilitator, which basically means anything to do with mind, body, healing, integration of emotions, regulation of the nervous system. I'm a qualified coach, NLP master practitioner, clinical hypnotherapist, breath worker. I've been teaching yoga for 20 years, and mental, emotional, physical and spiritual health are my bag. This is where I'm an expert in. So in the long and short of it, neuro means nervous system and mind. Somatic means body. So mind, body, integration and connection.
I love that. And I think I should give the listeners a bit of background because everyone knows I only really have on here like trusted people, those that I know can teach my listeners, but give them something valuable, but also mainly those that I trust. And so obviously me and you met pre-lockdown. I was going through some stuff at the time where I just had so much anxiety that I was carrying and I literally couldn't cope anymore. And a friend actually recommended you. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. Like, let's book I think it was 6 sessions that I had. And obviously me and you hit off straight away anyway, personally. And you've done so much work with me to help with this anxiety and other things that I was dealing with. And it helped me so much. And then lockdown hit. And we would go for a walk every now and then. And I remember the first time I met up with you during that time and you was like, how's the anxiety? And I was like, oh my God, I actually don't have any anymore. Like, it was like I had to take a minute to think, to be like, how have I been feeling? Have I been feeling anxious? For me to realize that I actually haven't been for such a long time. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously things happen. You might feel a little bit anxious like over time because obviously it's ongoing work. But I'd always say to everyone, like, you healed me. Like, so that's why I wanted to bring on the show. So I put you in front of my audiences, because you are so good at this. And I know so many business owners really struggle in this department. And obviously with my little girl, Lola Rose, you've done some work with her because she's got trauma background. So there's so much that you have helped me with personally. So I'm forever grateful for that. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. That always really touches me when you say that. And I mean, the fact that you weren't anxious in lockdown when, especially in the beauty industry, like everybody was losing their mental capacity, because what a time that was for anybody who had a front-facing business. I know that, you know, we'd spent 5 years building this retreat venue here, and I'd opened my yoga studio for 6 weeks and then we were closed down. So I know how that impacted me. So during that time was a really weird time, wasn't it, for those people in the beauty industry and front-facing service-based industry. So yeah, well done for holding your stuff together at that time, because it was not an easy time. And I actually think that so many of us, so many people are still holding trauma actually from that period, because it was such a time of uncertainty.
Yeah, I still actually can't even believe that was a thing. Like, it's just so weird, isn't it? As time's gone on now, years have passed, and it's like, did that actually happen? It's just
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah.
weirdest thing. But
Yeah.
hey
Yeah.
ho. What made you get into this line of work then? Was there anything particular that happened to you, or where's this passion come from?
My gosh, that's an amazing question, because actually I started out in the beauty industry. I was a beauty therapist. That was what I went to college for at 16 years old. And I always thought that I was thick and I was stupid and I would never amount to anything. And I couldn't do school. I was not like academic. I hated myself. I had no self-esteem. I was outwardly confident, which was a coping mechanism. I was raised in a pub, which is not the best place really for any child to be, as it's a really challenging environment to be in, around grown-ups and alcohol. And all as I knew at 16 years old is I wanted to help people. I wanted to help women feel better about themselves. And I started in the beauty industry. So I absolutely loved it, but really lent then into the more holistic side. So I'm a natural healer with my hands. I remember my mum telling me when I was a kid, your hands are just incredible. And hands-on healing and massage was just my things, massage and facials and things that, you know, had my hands really touching people's bodies was something that I absolutely loved. And so that's where I started. And then I trained then. I was really into fitness because it was really helping me. I started to train and do running and exercise, and it really helped my mental health. And then I started to get into the fitness industry, and I trained to be a fitness professional, taught loads of classes, was a personal trainer, then started to look more into the holistic aspects. So got into teaching Pilates. Then, as my spiritual self started to develop, trained to be a yoga teacher. And then it went into like coaching, NLP master practitioner, clinical hypnotherapy, and then more recently, the somatic psychotherapy. So it's been an ongoing process that's really spanned since I was 16 years old. So like 32 years, oh my gosh, like it's just been a really steady progression. And I just think that I am doing exactly what God made me for. Like I am living we call it dharma in yoga. When you're living your dharma, your purpose, you are living in true alignment to who you really are. So I feel like I'm so blessed to do what I do and to have the opportunity to help the people that I help, really. It's just such an honor, and I can never tire of it, because I am addicted to learning and growing and understand. I mean, neuroscience is like a thing that I study as well, like, and how the mind body is connected. And it all started with me doing beauty and having access to real life bodies and women who we're all feeling the same, lacking in confidence, unworthy, imposter syndrome, struggling to charge our worth. All of that I've been through myself. So in terms of small business owners, when most of my clients are small business owners, I can honestly say with integrity, I know how you feel, love.
Mm.
I know how it is. It's tough. It's relentless. It's worth it, but it's ongoing. And you feel like you're at the top of the mountain 1 minute, and then bang, something comes along and takes you back out again. And it's just for me about growing the resilience and making sure that you're strong in your mindset and really settled in your nervous system. And that's really a passion of mine. So my career has become, it's based on passion, and it's based
Mm.
on contributing um to predominantly women. I don't want to say that I don't help men, but predominantly the mental and emotional and physical health of my fellow epic women out there.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, like the passion is all led like this whole business, which is why you do so well. Because I always say like the passion has to be there first and then the money then follows, rather than going, oh, this is a good business, I'll do this because this makes a lot of money, because that never works. Like it's always the passion that feeds it first.
Absolutely. And you have to be completely in alignment with that. And I think that you and I have seen it many times where, as you say, people have gotten into the industry with the wrong intention. And the thing is, what's really important is your clients can feel your intention. Your clients can
Mm.
feel your intention. So when you're not there with the value of contributing to making them feel better and look better, then they know it. And so your business won't thrive. It's that simple. It is that simple.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about anxiety. This holds like so many people back, and I see this loads in business owners that I talk to every single day. Why do you think that is? And is that a common thing that comes up with you when you're working with these small businesses?
Absolutely. Honestly, I mean, I can talk about anxiety for years. Here's the thing, right? Anxiety is a normal human emotion, but we have been taught to, especially as women, to suppress those emotions. And so we don't process those emotions, and we keep pushing them back down inside of our body. When anxiety is, it's a message, and it's knocking on the door of your conscious mind going, hi, I'm here. There's something that you need to deal with. I'm not going to go away. And then what we do is we take ourselves off to the doctors that gives us medication, which pushes the anxiety further down into our bodies. Or we overdrink, or we overeat, or we overbusy ourselves to stop us from feeling this anxiety. And so
Mm.
we've become really afraid of this anxiety, and especially as a sensitive being. So, which most beauty people in the beauty industry, in the well-being industry, we are sensitive. That's how we relate as to our clients, empathically. And so people get really fearful of feeling anxiety, and they don't get underneath it to really explore what is creating this anxiety. Am I moving in the wrong direction? Am I hanging out with the wrong people? Is the unprocessed trauma and emotions that I haven't dealt with from my past? Am I in the wrong relationship? Am I drinking too much? Have I created some unhealthy coping mechanisms to protect myself from feeling these big emotions? And so there's many different routes that take us to anxiety. And it it sits in your nervous system and sits in your body, and there's just no escaping it. So if you don't feel it, you can't heal it. So
Mm.
if any of your audiences listening who struggle with anxiety, yes, it's a normal human emotion that comes from your nervous system that drops you into fight or flight, because back in the day we were running from the saber-toothed tiger, and that anxiety saved our lives. However, we don't have a saber-toothed tiger nowadays. We have too many emails, or an appointment system that fails, or a staff member that leaves us in the lurch, or, we can list them all. And then that then triggers the nervous system dysregulation, and then we don't address it. And we also, another thing here is then we live in our head. We live in our busy mind, which it does not help, because then, especially as women, we're not living from our heart. So we completely disconnect from our heart, which then hinders the process of healing. So anxiety is a normal human emotion. Embrace your anxiety and really like ask it, what are you here to tell me? What messages do
Mm.
you have for me? What do I need to look at? What do I need to heal? What do I need to address to enable myself to self-soothe? And there's so many self-soothing tools nowadays that you can access really, either cheaply or affordably. Even giving somebody a hug, giving yourself a hug, taking some slow deep breath work, meditations that you can download from anywhere. All of this stuff will help you to overcome this anxiety. So there's two lots of anxiety. There's present moment anxiety when you're dealing with the present moment, or there's anxiety which is unresolved trauma that sits in the body. And just as a side note to that, when I say trauma, I didn't relate to being a traumatized person until probably the last 4 years of my life. And because I lived in a home with two parents, and nobody, wasn't born in a war zone, or we can give ourselves, reasons why we're not traumatized, but actually the whole system that we're living in is really traumatic,
Mm.
for us to be in. And so we can have these little glitches that come from relational trauma, our parents not being present, or them working too much, or a teacher shouting at us, for example. That can create traumas in our body, because trauma is not what happens to us, it's what happens in our body in response to something that either did happen to us, bad things, or for good things that didn't happen to us. And that's where we can get confused when we are experiencing anxiety. So there's present moment anxiety, or there's anxiety that's dysregulated your nervous system from past trauma.
How would they know which one is what?
That's a really great question, because unless somebody's really self-aware, they're doing the work, they have a therapeutic coach or somebody like myself to really reflect that, then some people don't often know until they really create that connection with themselves. So the question that I would ask is, how long has this anxiety been sat in your body? Is it something that's recent, or is it something that's been with you for a long, long time? And actually, most people will say, oh my gosh, I remember leaving my homework book at school when I was 10 years old, and I was so anxious about that. And that was my first memory of anxiety. And because that didn't get soothed in your body, that anxiety, the energy of that anxiety is still present. So most of us, unless we had a really conscious parenting experience, which most of us in the Western Hemisphere don't, by the way. And there's no judgment here about, our parents were doing the best they could with the information that they had at the time. But most of us have been dysregulated in some which way. So most of our today's issues, I would say 90% of our today's issues are based on an issue that was brought to us in our past. But yeah, it can then repeat itself because of business stress and staffing stress and relationship stress and financial stress and all of that stuff. It just exasperates what's already in your system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So if someone's listening, they go, okay, I kind of like getting this, but I'm dealing with this anxiety daily, or they have these triggers of anxiety happening, how can they manage it at that time?
So the best thing to do in real time when you're under pressure, the first thing to do is to really check into your body and start to slow your breathing down. When we're anxious, we breathe really high into our chest, and then that then starts to make things even worse. And I don't know if you've ever had a panic attack, but I know definitely have. And that's because the anxiety is just bubbles up and bubbles up. And then suddenly you're like, I'm not breathing properly. I'm not breathing properly. So the first thing to do is to really pay attention to your breathing. Put your hands onto your belly and start to really breathe slowly to enable your nervous system to regulate itself. So that's the one thing that you can do in real time. Another great tool that I teach my clients is drop into peripheral vision. Now, what does that even mean? So, as we're looking here and you're looking at a finger in front of you, peripheral vision is what you've got when you're in the car and you see like everything. If you stick your arms out to the side and wiggle your fingers, you can see the fingers wiggling in the side of your vision. That also helps to regulate your nervous system in real time. That's a little trick that I learned when I did when I did the Professional Speakers Academy, as to be a better speaker on stage. You can drop into that peripheral vision, and that will also help to regulate your nervous system. And then is the third thing I would say is listen to your internal dialogue. What are you saying to yourself? So there's so many, we could have a whole podcast on internal dialogue. So you can be really judging yourself, being really horrible to yourself. You can be catastrophizing in your own mind. But if you can just for a moment reassure yourself and say, you've got this. I'm okay. I can do this. I can slow my breathing down. I can relax my shoulders. I can sit really tall. I can bring myself into the present moment. And that present moment awareness will help to immediately regulate your nervous system and bring you back into your body. Present moment awareness is something that I teach all of the time, because if we're not projecting into the future and worrying about what could happen, we're either grasping on a memory from the behind us, what's already passed, and that then really brings anxiety to the surface. So if you can be present in this moment, breathing deeply, calming yourself down by dropping into peripheral vision, and then start to bring some compassion into your own heart for yourself. And then you'll start to talk to yourself in a way that you deserve to talk to yourself. This internal dialogue trick, I always say, would you talk to your best friend in the way that you talk to yourself? And everyone always says, no way would I talk to anybody else the way that I speak to myself. So the way that you talk to yourself is a real trigger for massive anxiety. So there are my moment to moment, like massively transformational tips there in terms of real time anxiety.
That's so good. So you guys that are struggling, definitely give that a go. Let's talk about workaholics. I feel like I'm talking about myself on this one.
Oh,
Why do we
I know. I spoke. Yeah.
Why do we become
Yeah.
addicted to work? Like, I know I've talked to you about this before, but I actually see like this all of the time with my clients, where we're just like hustle, have to keep going. Why? What are we chasing?
Oh, this is something that I've healed in myself recently. So I'm so glad you've asked this question. Oh my gosh. There's a few different ways that we could get under this conversation. And it can come from, again, I really believe that it's a trauma response of never feeling good enough, of never feeling worthy, I'll be happy when I get there. I'll be happy when I get there. I'll be happy when I get there. When I've achieved this, when I've earned my next few grand, when I've, taken on my next staff member, when I've opened another salon, when you get that one, right? I'll be satisfied. And what we're doing is we are taking ourselves out of the present moment awareness. And a lot of the time it's because it's so uncomfortable for us to sit still with ourselves and be in the moment. So we're projecting constantly and consistently into the future, thinking that our happiness lives there, and thinking our satisfaction and our fulfillment and our self-worth and our self-validation and our self-love lives out in the future. But it doesn't. It lives here, right in this moment, today, wherever you are in this day. And so workaholism is, again, like I say, I can put my hand up wholeheartedly to this, because I work all the time, but I do listen to my body and give myself breaks and make sure that I'm paying attention, because I recently had a burnout. Because of that, I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And then, so we can add another layer in here. Why are we pushing? everything that's meant for you will never pass you by. If you can sit in the knowingness that you deserve everything that your heart desires, that you are worthy, then the law of your attraction, right? I'm sure you've spoken more than once on the law of attraction. That's when the magic happens, when we are in that very vibrational space of attracting what we want and not pushing for it and burning ourselves out, because all as we're doing is then pushing the energy away. We're not in receptive mode. So there's so many different aspects of this. And it's not to say, actually, we can't be ambitious, because I think that ambitious, forward-thinking women are going to change the planet. I honestly think that we are here having these conversations for a reason, because we are, the rise of the divine feminine right now. We are in a magical time. But we've been told we can have everything. So we can have the kids, we can have the house, we can have the business. But to what cost? We're not listening to ourselves. We've been taught not to express ourselves. We've been taught to never express our emotions. Now, what that's doing, it's causing autoimmune disease. 80% of people with autoimmune disease are women. And it's because we have been taught we can have everything, and we absolutely can. But we don't need to push so hard. We need to listen to our bodies a little bit more. We need to drop into our yin energy, which is our feminine energy, because most of us, and especially us single parents, are used to being in our yang energy. So yang is the masculine energy, yin is the feminine energy. And when you're doing both mother and father roles, for those of you who are business owners and parents all at the same time, you can drop into your masculine. And again, the masculine is the doing, the dominant, the driven. And if that's you, then you are heading for nervous system dysregulation and adrenal fatigue. and I mean, I'm sure as I'm talking, and overwhelm and anxiety, and then perfectionism, which leads to procrastination. And there's so many things that are wrapped up in this subject of being a workaholic. It's such an amazing subject to talk about. So my advice, again, to anybody who's pushing and missing this moment is to stop and breathe. And like right now, as I'm talking and as we're conversing, breathe deeper into your body. Check in. How does your body feel? How are these words landing in your body? Really feel it and draw some happiness or some inspiration or some fulfillment from this conversation in this moment, rather than worrying about what's going to be happening next week, next month, or next year. Because ultimately, we don't know what's around the next corner. And this present moment is really the gift that we're missing.
Yeah, I feel like you're literally just talking about me. Because it's like, I really, really struggle with this subject. I mean, I love work. Like, I would say that's my hobby. And I remember a coach I was working with last year, I was like, why am I working? Why am I working? Why am I working all the time? But she was like, some of that you've got to take that's your self-care. Like, you like working, you like doing these things. But I guess it's like working and there's overworking. And what really resonated with me actually when you first talked about this subject is, I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, but I remember when I sold my first franchise. And for me, selling a franchise was like the ultimate goal, the ultimate dream that I wanted to do. I wanted these chains of salons. Like, I've been working on it for years. And then when I sold the first one, I was like, this is the best. So I went to the launch, I'd done all the things, like it looked all amazing, like it felt good, I earned lots of money. And then I remember coming home and I was just like completely empty. And I was like, how have I done the thing that I've just wanted all of my life, to then have it come home and be like, okay, now what? Like, what's next? And I was lost for so long, and I will never forget that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. That's real. I think I've had a situation very similar, when I got up and spoke on stage in front of 200 people, and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm there. I got to my dream. I was started speaking on stages in front of people and changing people's lives, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's weird. When I come home and it's like, yeah, now what? And now what? And that for me is the question that I would ask is, were you present in that moment when you were in the salon, when you were doing your launch, or were you thinking that this is it, this is the end destination, this is where my happiness lives? Because we think that these goals are going to bring us happiness and fulfillment, but we're constantly looking for things outside of us to bring us happiness, fulfillment, contentment, and joy. When ultimately, if there's an unhealed part of ourselves, then it's really tough to get there, because we're looking outside of ourselves, and no amount of fancy cars or fancy houses or fancy handbags is ever going to fill that gap if you don't do your own healing and you don't do your own work, and you're really not content with the person that you are and the deep levels of epicness that you have inside of you. If you've never really made friends with your consciousness and healed all of those old wounds, you're never going to get there. And I know I've put a post out recently, like saying, I feel finally there, because no matter what happens from here on out, if I lose it all tomorrow, then I have reached a place where I am so grateful to be me. I am so grateful to be on this journey, that nobody can take that away from me. And it's taken a long time. But the thing is, when we hold on to disposable things that we can lose businesses, especially how hard it is nowadays as a small business. We can lose it all. And then what's that going to do to your self-worth and your confidence? Is it going to take it all away and make you a less of a person? Absolutely not. It's not. You're still the goddess that you absolutely are. You still are a woman with integrity and growth and expansion. You can gain it all again. So it's about really making sure that your outer world is aligned to your inner world. And the only way that we can do that is really go deep and do the inner work, which, again, as I say, it's not always easy, but it's worth it. And so that's what I would have perceived, is that your inner world was not aligned with your outer world. You'd worked so hard to allow your outer world to be everything that you wanted, but there was something missing in your inner world that just wasn't quite there yet. And that's where your emptiness came from. Does that resonate when I say that?
Yeah, definitely. And it also resonates when you say about, scared of losing it all, because I remember when I first started working with you, that was my thing. I was like, I'm so scared of losing it all. I'm scared of, I've built this empire, and now what if it goes? Like, who will I be? And then when COVID hit, and I was like, okay, my fear's happening, we're just about to lose the salons. But I was still standing. But as a coach and mentor now, I hear that all the time. They're so scared of losing it.
This is a big one. Absolutely. It's massive. And there's a few things that we could talk into here. But the first thing that I'm going to bring to the forefront is, who do we identify ourselves to be? Because what we do has become who we are, a part of our identity. So when we go out and we meet new people, we say, oh, nice to meet you. And we say, what do you do? Who are you? And we say, oh, I'm a therapist, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a beauty salon owner. And that becomes our identity. And so then if you lose that, then if you haven't done the inner work and you don't truly know who you are, then you will constantly have that fear of losing your identity. And this is what happens when people retire. So, we've heard the story over and over. People retire and then they get really sick. And it's because they haven't done the work around their identity and who they believe themselves to be. When I'm working with my one-to-one clients, I do a lot of work nowadays around identity, because who we believe we are, we will step into that very identity. And if that involves how much we earn, how much our salon takes, the status that we have, then that's very dangerous ground, because it can be taken away very quickly. And then who are you? Who are you? And so this, I believe, really underpins the fear of losing it all. Because we know, right, if you've built a salon or a business up from scratch, for all of you guys, you can do it again. And you'll do it again in quicker time because you've learned everything that you need to learn. I know that the industry changes and marketing changes and social media changes, and we do have to keep abreast of that. That's a whole other blinking industry, really, isn't it? But,
Mm-hmm.
but we can do it again. No matter what happens, if you lose it all tomorrow, you can do it again. You can do it over and over and over. Yeah, it might not be as fun the next time, or it might be better, but it's the uncertainty that we really struggle with and brings so much fear. And let me just tell you one thing here. And if you take anything away from this conversation and this podcast, what you focus on grows. So if the fear of losing it all underpins where you are in your emotions, in your mindset, and in your nervous system, then what you focus on grows, and you're going to be fighting every day of your life. You're going to be bloody exhausted, love, to stop that fear from coming to fruition. So really what you need to focus on is being more abundant. I am so grateful for all of this abundance. I'm so grateful to feel safe, because it's the feeling safe that we are craving, and we crave this from within our businesses. But the first thing that we really need to do is become really safe in our own body. We have to regulate our nervous system so that when we do have bad months, it's okay, and we don't lose our sense of who we truly are.
That's so good. And I do resonate with all of that. I think this is the part where I definitely need some work on. Because what you said about feeling safe, I'm so that if the business does this and it takes that, I'll feel a bit safer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just did a huge healing really recently, actually. And I'd realized that it's taken me so long of really nervous system dysregulation, which I've had since I was born. I've traced everything back to when I was born. Your nervous system, the trauma starts in utero. So if your mum was going through anything whilst you were being created, then it's in your nervous system, I'm afraid. And I realized I'd not felt safe in my body until recently. And so honestly, start to feel safe in your own body, start to learn how to regulate your own nervous system. Of course, reach out if I can help in any way to enable you to do that. Then start to really understand your nervous system and feel safe within your body, and then you'll start to notice huge changes within how you show up as a business owner, as an ambitious person, because you will be regulated. And then when you're regulated, the fear drops away. And when the fear drops away, naturally we see opportunities. We meet people that we'd have never met before that, want to work with us, or we start to attract our dream clients. And it's only my personal experience on this, it's when I became safe in my body, because nobody can take that away. Nobody can take that away. And whether I lost everything tomorrow, yeah, I'd be well cheesed off if that happened. I'm not going to lie, but I know that I'm safe. I know that it's going to be okay. Fundamentally, this is not just a BS like affirmation that I'm telling myself. I did that for years, like lied to myself. It's all okay, but whilst feeling completely wired in my nervous system. But once you regulate your own nervous system, honestly, your life and your business and how you show up for your families, for your partners, and for your colleagues and employees will completely transform.
I think everyone that's listening to this would have taken something away from this episode. Like, you've literally just given so much value. So thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to leave to the listeners before we close this episode?
So yeah, I would like to leave with something. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. We all, as a business owner, we all work on our business mindset, which is brilliant. And I know that you're a huge advocate, like you are like the leader in this within your industry. But it's so important for us to do the work, take a break, go to a restorative yoga class, start meditation, start to get to know yourself on a more intimate level, so that you understand what triggers you, so you understand what you truly want and what your heart truly desires. Yeah, and I would love to see you all at one of my retreats. And hopeless, a plug there for the retreats that I run. And yeah, just do the work, find some groups that you can resonate with, or meditation, nervous system regulation, restorative yoga, or yoga of any kind, and do that health work before anything else. Really make sure that you're prioritizing your health, because you'll only be as successful as your health is vibrant. And so that would be my leaving statement, is do what makes you feel good in your physical body. Get out of your head, get back into your body, and show up as the true goddess that you really are.
I love that. Where can people find out more about you and your retreats? Where's best to direct people?
Okay, thank you so much for that. So I've got 3 accounts on Instagram. Adele-Marie Coach. The retreat at Oakmead is our retreat venue. I am running a retreat on the 13th of September 2024, which is a weekend, which is ideal for business owners. It's complete nervous system reset with all restorative aspects. My website is adele-marie.co.uk. It's just going through a little bit of a uplift at the moment. And on Facebook as well, Adele-Marie Coaching, Adele-Marie Hartshorn. All social media handles. Oh, TikTok as well. Doing all of the handles, all of the platforms. I'm doing all the things. LinkedIn, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. Oh, gosh, I'm surprised I have time to work, right?
Oh God, it's a full-time job in itself, isn't it? It's hard work.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a couple of social media girls now. I'm lucky enough to have some support in that realm. But yeah, if people are just starting off and they're doing it all themselves, I'm just sending you so much love, because I get that. It really is. There's a lot going on. So stay present, stay true to yourself, to stay aligned to who you really are, and release any kind of comparison, because comparison is the thief of joy. You are individual, you are unique, and you are magnificent. All of your listeners, just to take it from me, if you knew your own greatness, you would never feel anxious. I promise you, if you knew your own magnificence, you wouldn't feel fearful about who you're showing up to be in the world.
Thank you so much, Adele. And go and check out on any social media platform Adele's content, and we're going to reach out to her if you're interested in the retreats or whatever else she does with her therapies. Go and check them out. And I appreciate you, Adele. Thank you so much for coming on. I love everything that you've said today.
Oh, thank you, Katie, again, for believing in me, for seeing me, and for having me on your podcast. It's a complete pleasure to be here.
I want to introduce you to a brand that I'm working with called Dizzo. They offer dissolvable supplement strips, which means the vitamins are absorbed 4 times more than tablets and capsules. So these are perfect if you want quicker results, or maybe you can't take tablets. You guys know that I only work with brands that I love. So I am personally using their B12 strips and their energy strips. As a business owner, I get tired. So I kind of need that boost every day. And these are definitely helping with my energy levels. I'm also taking their multivitamin strips, which taste lovely. Go and check out their website in the show notes. Go and order yours and let me know what you think.